Most of the people I talk to have ADD diagnosed or undiagnosed, and it's not a disorder. It's a sign of genius. It's just mislabeled because people don't understand it. Education's the opposite of entrepreneurship. It's compete against everyone as opposed to, collaborate with everyone. See a problem, create solution, problem solved, successful global company.
Was there a sense of stability or a sense of chaos growing up that you pulled?
So that's a great question.
Why don't you just start and tell us a little bit about who you are and what floats your boat? Like from a person, not just a business perspective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not a business owner, I'm just a full entrepreneur. But I really, I listened to your interview with Scott Danner. It was a really good.
Thank you for listeing. That's where you got the Brooklynese comment from.
Brooklynese, yeah. I like to know who I'm talking to. I'm amazed. Journalist for 20 years. I like to know who I'm talking to a little bit ahead of time. The most insulting question I think anyone can ask is, what do you do? Because it's
that's an American question. Only Americans ask that.
Right. It's a weird question to me. And also I like to know who someone is. I don't really care what they do. I like to know who they are. But
well, actually, I have a very dear friend who's a physician. And he said, when people say, what do you do? He goes, what I do is practice medicine, but who I am is David, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So he's a smart guy. And
he's a very smart guy.
Yeah, that's a high level of thinking. The second most annoying question is, can I pick your brain? That's code for, can I waste your time?
Or can I buy you lunch and pick your brain and get free advice?
Right. Can I get free advice? No, you can't.
I don't think I've ever asked anybody those questions on this podcast. So
Good.
Go back and listen, or I'll be in trouble with you, Justin.
So, it's funny because, never come prepared for interviews. As a journalist for 20 years, there are only two questions that I always asked, and then everything else is organic. But the first one was, who your parents are. Because if someone knows where they come from, they know who they can know who they are and where they are and then where they're going. But a lot of times, and most times it starts where you come from. Most people don't really think about that or know. And then the last question I've always asked people over tens of thousands of interviews is there anything else you'd like to add? Something else that would be good for this story? Am I missing anything? Because many times, it's something they wanted to say, but it was never framed the way they could say it. So so if that's helpful.
So that's interesting. What I usually ask people, actually, I haven't asked it on the podcasts, but I ask it when I'm coaching or consulting is, what's the question I need the answer to that I didn't know enough to ask?
Right. It's the same. That's
the same question. Yeah.
So what I found is, this is the first time we've talked in this format, is that like I can tell right away whether someone's a high level thinker like you are, or whether they don't really know what they're talking about. And then it's an immediate, like the way you and Scott bonded immediately, you can just tell. And I found that it's really a product of having the right mindset, and that creates the right network and creates the right opportunities. So I still haven't answered your question. I will.
Which I have taken note of. I haven't forgotten. I do have to do full disclosure in terms of doing podcasts, because I like to make my podcast different than others. I like to try to ask different questions.
Of course. And
one of the reasons where I developed the skill, it didn't just happen. But for years, I've done TV, and I had a Dr. Patty Ann's Tuesday Tips for Success. And what they would do in one of the segments is the viewers would call in, or whatever, however they would do it, and they'd ask a business question and a personal question. So as you're trying to answer, you have the producer in your ear 30 seconds before going to a commercial. Right. And then, in the back, they're going. So you learn to get to the answer. So I think that's what's helping.
Well, there's a couple things from that. So what most of my day is talking to the world's top entrepreneurs, not business owners, not consultants, not employee humans, the world's top entrepreneurs.
Employee humans.
No, I mean,
as opposed to employee robots.
Yeah. Well, usually, right. So usually global vision, not always, but usually global visionaries like us are married to stabilizing humans. There are exceptions to that. So my wife's a pediatrician. Warmth, empathy, rules, order, schedule.
It is honestly, Justin, because I have a medical background, being not only a physician, but I believe a pediatrician is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Not because of the kids, but because of the crazy parents.
Parents, yeah. And so my wife
and they're getting worse. They're getting worse.
Right. So our first date was the day before she started medical school. So if there's anything comparable to being an entrepreneur, I would say it's going through medical school. I'd be the worst doctor ever. You're an entrepreneur who happens. Why? Because I don't like medicine. I don't like following rules. I don't like waiting for things. I would never deal with annoying parents. That was no. That'd be, and my wife would be the worst entrepreneur ever because she needs to feel safe and secure, and she needs to be needed.
Structure.
Yeah, she needs structure. And I mean, global visionaries, they create their own structure because they don't like structure. Okay. So I'm a dad who happens to be
structure. We laugh in the face of structure.
Yeah. I mean, this interview is completely unstructured, which is funny. I mean, but that's good. I like that. And so, again, most of my day is either spending time with my wife, most wonderful human I've ever met.
Oh, wait, Justin, is she still practicing medicine?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So then how are you spending most of your day with her?
Well, that's an interesting follow-up question. Because of my company's success, she works part-time now. So.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. So we have a lot of time together. And then we have two young sons who are 9 and 8.
Young. They are young.
Yep. So spend a lot of time with them. And I'm just a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. And I talk to 1 to 2 folks like us every single week. You're definitely an exception. 4 kids, long marriage, twins.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were looking at because you're not looking at me. I guess you're reading my bio.
No, I'm not. So you're very perceptive. No one's ever mentioned that. I don't like looking straight ahead. I learn and think by looking around. I do not focus.
So you know what, Justin? It's so funny you say that because I was getting critiqued for something. When you ask for give me the feedback and you're like, yeah, give me the feedback. But what I was told is that when I'm thinking, I look up. I forget to the right or the left. And I've been practicing trying to not do that because as much as I can connect with my eyes, I like to. But you're an entrepreneur, so I get it.
Yeah. And I read somewhere a good part of communication is nonverbal, but if people don't like the way I communicate, I don't care. Like the people who do like it are top.
Whoa, stop right there. Wait, stop right there. You run a PR firm, yes?
No. Yeah. So I haven't done outbound sales or gimmicks in years. I just connect top people on. The people who do like me are top global visionaries. They love the directness. They don't care where I look. They don't care.
Just give me the information.
They just give me the answer. Yeah.
Got it.
So, but again, I talk to top entrepreneurs all day, and 1 to 2 a week have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from ever having a family. And I will never be that person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what new book is about. It's how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. It's like, oh my God, wow, you can put your family or loved ones first and build great companies. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to destroy your.
Well, in fairness to us entrepreneurs, it's not just us. I think the cultural message, and I do have to say, and I'd love to hear your thought on this, that, I could say a lot of negative things about our younger generation, but I'm sort of kind of chuckling and enjoying them pushing back and truly embracing, like people don't like the term work-life balance. I wrote a book on it. I don't want to get caught up in the nomenclature. We can call it work-life harmony. Like we can call it whatever we want. We all know that we're talking about having a life and working, right? And notice having a life and working. But I feel that our culture until recently has given us the message that you can't have it all. And that if you put anything before your career and whatever that looks like, especially, as entrepreneurs, we have the freedom to work any 25 hours a day that we want, right?
Yep.
So, and there's, it's hard to set up boundaries. There's no unplugging. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just in the entrepreneurial world where I see that family life and personal relationships have been sacrificed for financial success, right? We know what success is not supposed to be financial, but when most people talk about success, they're talking about money.
Yeah. So one of the chapters in my book is winning the wrong game. So people that
winning the wrong game. I love that.
Yeah. So most of my days hearing blah, 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 blah. And then here's your answer. Simplify. Less is more. Most of the people I talk to have ADD diagnosed or undiagnosed, and it's not a disorder. It's a sign of genius. It's just mislabeled because people don't understand it. And then, I can keep up with them and then actually provide an answer and execute. So it was really an interesting thing listening to your interview with Scott Danner again, because you were talking about empathy and all that kind of stuff and that people get lost in empathy. Well, there's 34 strength finders, Gallup Clifton strength finders. And I am 34 out of 34 in empathy, dead last, and 33 out of 34 in includer. So second to last in that. However, there's a caveat to that. There's a caveat. Talking to people like you and top entrepreneurs on planet, I have endless empathy, endless. I feel, if, your dad dies and your mom has to carry the burden, I feel that so strong. My dad died when I was young. My mom carried the burden. I feel that so strongly. And what separates entrepreneurs from everyone else is I haven't met one entrepreneur at the highest level. Again, I'm not talking about consultants, business. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about very, very selective few percentage of the population that hasn't overcome at least one of the following four things. Most are two or three, and then it's gotten higher up on the food chain. Most of the folks are actually all fours now. So here's what separates entrepreneurs from everyone else. Okay, this is all it is. So here are the four things: bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, 2, depression, 3, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine, and 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So humans, consultants, business owners, they use those as excuses. Entrepreneurs at the highest level, figure it out. That is what
they use it as rocket fuel. Okay,
that's
so
all it is. Yeah, that's
slow down. So slow down. So I think the research is, as my background is as a clinical psychologist, right, is that anxiety today, I think anxiety and depression is at the highest levels than it's ever been.
100%.
And there's many reasons for that. A lot. I would never ever vilify technology, but a lot of it has to do with technology.
No doubt.
Like everything in life, yin and yang. With every benefit comes a downside, right? It's physics, equal and opposite reaction.
Yes.
So, and I think we're in the middle of a revolution. So when you first get something new, it's like you learn a new word, you use it all the time and you use it wrong. And then over time, you use the word correctly. You're not trying to impress people, right? And then it just becomes, you internalize it. And I think that's what we're going through with social media. Having said that, if most of the population or a lot of the population is anxious, depressed, and I would also argue, Justin, that I think to varying degrees, I don't think you can get through childhood not having experienced trauma. So I'm not so sure that what you delineated really separates the entrepreneur from anybody else. So let's have that discussion.
So I've talked to well over 1,000 people with what I just said. You're literally the first person who's ever questioned it. So I'm glad.
And I'm not saying I'm right.
I'm not. So so most of my days talking to the top entrepreneurs, and I still haven't met one that hasn't overcome at least one of those four things.
Oh, and I don't doubt that. But what I'm saying is, Justin, and I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole, right? I want to have an interesting conversation. What I'm saying is, I'm suggesting that perhaps most people have had those things to overcome. So maybe there's more. Maybe there's another variable.
That's how I learn. So there's 34 strength finders. I'm 32 out of 34 in ideation. So almost all of my good ideas come from these conversations. And this is how I learn in real time. So I just want the answer. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. I want someone to give me the answer. I don't care about rabbit holes or overthinking things. I want I
So
just
what
want
do
the
you
answer.
think it might be? So let's think
Well,
outside the box.
I don't think there's anything else. I mean, that's what I've seen from thousands. I mean, it's funny because I say those four things and then these top entrepreneurs are like, they're nodding, they're check, check, check. And again, when I first started,
But Justin, I'm agreeing with you, but what I'm saying is I'm not so sure that that it's only entrepreneurs that have endured that.
Right. But I
want to make sure I'm clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I do. However, my entire life is talking to top entrepreneurs. So everything else doesn't concern me.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
No, I don't care. I mean, it's not that I don't sympathize. It's just I don't understand excuses. I just don't. It makes absolutely no sense to me. So when people make excuses, I'm like, well, what are you, like, why
are you doing about it?
Yeah. So, and then
some people want excuses because, what's that expression from the famous person that said something about, the person that will criticize is the man that was never in the arena. Right.
Right.
So you set up an excuse because you're giving yourself an out to not try. Right. You miss out.
Well, I don't understand.
The shots you don't take.
Yeah. So it doesn't. Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. I mean,
so were you always like this?
Yeah. So
where did that come from? What's the history there?
Yeah. Well, thank you. So I strongly believe, again, this is from, my research comes from talking to top people in the world and then them saying, oh, okay, that makes sense. So you're either born like this or you're not. I think most people would choose to make as much money as you want, spend as much time with your family as they want, do what you like to do and what you're good at, only partner with a certain type of person. I'm guessing they would choose that. But then if you're like, oh, you have to overcome, bankruptcy or potential bankruptzy, to depression, all that, those four things, like, I'm not going to do that. So I was born to be this person. So what does that mean? When I was born, I was just born with a story. I was born with a story and born to be like this. So when I was born, my dad was 61. He was 61.
He was 60. Wait, your dad was 61 when you were born?
Yeah. So, and my dad was 61 and my mom was 27. I mean, this is what the first chapter of the book is about, but my father.
Can I ask you what number marriage it was for your dad?
I don't know the actual answer for that. I think
so. It wasn't number one.
I don't know. I understand. Okay. I mean, I don't know. We think he might have been married after the Korean War, but we don't. I mean, I don't know. You're the first person that's also ever asked me that. That's really interesting how your brain works. Like I
don't know if that's good or bad, but I love to do this.
Well, you're probably a 9 or 10 quick start in Colby. I'm a 7, and you are like incredible. Like you're like, I must ask this immediately, and I'm like that as well when I interview people.
Well, that's just being a New Yorker.
That's the Brooklynese. That's the Brooklynese. Yeah, people. So I live in the Chicago area, and people are like, "You sure you're not from the East Coast or West Coast?" Because Midwestern values and like a little slower here. I'm not like, I'm like, get stuff done. My top strength finder is activate. Second one is maximize. And third is achiever. So it's result.
Yeah, you're an entrepreneur, but through and through.
Yeah. I mean, talk to me is meaningless without doing anything. And empathy plus action, which you and Scott were talking about, that's what was so interesting. Because if you get lost in an empathy rabbit hole. I do not do that. I just take action. I just do it. But okay.
All right. So back at the ranch, you're born, your mother's 21, your dad's 61.
61, 27. Yeah. So
27.
So my father was a World War II hero, came from nothing, shot down 9 times in combat, many times without a parachute, got back in the plane, became an attorney.
He was a pilot? He was a pilot?
No, bomber, spotter in a
Got
plane.
It.
Yeah. And so get back in the plane, no excuses. And he died when I was 13. So after he died, I found his diary, which there's some excerpts from it in the book.
So excuse me, were your parents married?
Yes, they were. Yeah.
To each other. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they were married.
There's just so much you don't know about him. I thought maybe he wasn't in your life.
Oh, no. He was the best.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, so he was shot down multiple times in combat. And I found this diary after he died of his experiences fighting the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest. very deadly battle toward the end of World War II. It's one of the best things ever written. And
What
I
was
write
that battle again? Say that again.
Hurtgen Forest, Hurtgen, Hurtgen, German-Belgium border.
I was trying to place it.
Yeah. So there's some excerpts in the book. Horrific, absolutely horrific. No excuses. And so that's my dad. And then so when he was in his late 50s, a drunk driver went across the median of a highway, hit him head on. Drunk driver killed instantly. Dad broke every bone in his body, survived because you don't make excuses. And then my mom was his nurse. So that's how he met my mom. And then most of my days talking to top entrepreneurs on planet.
Your mom was literally his nurse.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. So people are either born like me or they're not. That's right. So all I do is talk to top entrepreneurs. I have not met anyone with more hustle than my mom ever, never. But ultimate survive and thrive, the ultimate. So
why do you say that?
Because what she's overcome in life is more than anyone I've ever met in my life, ever.
Such as?
I mean, her cousins committed suicide, multiple ones. My youngest brother died. She's been married multiple times. She came from nothing.
What happened to your youngest brother?
Opioid overdose.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, well, childhood trauma. That's what
I was actually just telling. I just read the book, The Empire of Pain. The hidden story of the Sackler family. I mean, actually in Connecticut, down the street is where Purdue Pharma was.
Okay.
When you read that book, you will be disgusted with the corruption between the FDA and it was just disgusting. So sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, I mean, it's a global crisis. I appreciate that. I mean, so what entrepreneurs really are, they're the most damaged people with the best coping skills. I mean, that's really what entrepreneurs are, but right. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, not always. Again, you're not an example. I'm not an example. Many times they use those coping skills to build material measurements, big company, revenue, employee count, office space, and then they have nothing meaningful, no time with family, no time with friends, loved ones. And so when you talk to people like that over and over, I'm like, that's a bad idea. I'm not going to be that. So I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur.
So help me. Let me just take you back for a moment. So it's just you and your brother, or you said younger brother. So do you have other siblings?
I have an older half sister who's 6 years older than me. And then I have one living younger brother, and then my youngest brother passed away.
Okay. So your mom raised all of you pretty much alone.
Right, which you can relate to. I was 13 when my dad died. Middle brother, I think, was 12, and then the youngest one was 10.
And was she nursing the whole time? Was that her job?
Oh no, my mom's had 300 jobs. Yeah, I think she got her degree, her bachelor's when she was 40. So that would have been right before my dad died, I think. That sounds
okay. So here's my question to you, and this has to do with entrepreneurs. I'm trying to figure out from what you're telling me, was there a sense of stability or a sense of chaos growing up that you pulled?
So that's a great question. That's a very good simplified question. I think where I am different from many entrepreneurs, that really have no concept of meaningful measurements, is that my father was around because he was essentially retired, and he was a wonderful father. So he was around most of the time. Then my mom was out hustling in a good way. She was doing multiple. Okay. And, but family was still incredibly unstable. Certainly after he died, for sure. Well, I mean, just, arrests and drug issues and things like that, for sure. But, yelling and screaming and things. But I think because I'll explain it like this. My youngest brother was 10 when my dad died. He literally tried to jump into the grave as the coffin was going down. And I don't think he got enough of my dad. I don't think he got enough of
I was
my
going to
dad.
say there was some instability there before your dad died then.
Oh, well, I mean, certainly, but not like it was a pretty calm family up until my dad dying, for sure. But yeah, I see your background coming into play here. Direct, which I appreciate. I'm like that too. People are like, they're like, oh, I've never told anyone that before. People tell me that all the time. I'm like, oh, well, you just ask the question. I mean, that's what you need to do. So I appreciate you doing that. But again, like, I wanted to be a good dad because I know what it's like one, my dad was a great dad. And then two, I know what it's like not to have a dad around. So I was not going to torch my family and not be around.
So you actually got both ends, right? You got the good dad, and then you also got the missing dad. So help me understand this, because having worked with, high level entrepreneurs as well, and professional athletes and Olympian athletes. Okay.
Right.
These are, they don't quit. They don't give up.
Why would
you?
And
they're incredibly admirable qualities. However, to have that personality as a parent can be torturous. I can't do it. I can't. Maybe you really can't do it. And your parent is like, yes, you can. How did that impact you growing up?
So one, people like me are usually aliens, so nobody understands us except the top entrepreneurs on the planet. So pretty much
we're the land of misfits, for sure.
Yeah, no one understood what I was talking about, and I didn't understand what people were complaining about. So really, since starting my entrepreneurship, that's when I'm like, oh, the only people that understand me are top entrepreneurs on the planet. What I will say is, as a dad, if my kids can't do something, I'm like, guys, I don't know how to hold a pencil right. I'm not kidding about that. I don't hear.
Are you a lefty?
No. That's, man, your brain's interesting. I hold a pencil like this. Like, I don't know how to do it. Like if my kids ask me to put their bike helmet on, I'm like, just ask your mom. It's really hard for me to do. So I tell
them to go on YouTube, how to wear a bike helmet.
Yeah, I'm not. So, but it's great because our conversations are like, what's your Colby score? Are you a simplifier or a multiplier? Make sure you only do what you like to do and what you're good at. Like, school is fine, but, learn math and reading, but create stuff, make sure you learn how, whether or not you become an entrepreneur.
Don't let school get in the way of your education, right?
Well, education's the opposite of entrepreneurship. It's compete against everyone as opposed to, collaborate with everyone. I mean, and higher education is like factory to get a job. It's like, it's
an indoctrination now, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. So half of the folks I partner with, they can barely read, one, because they're dyslexic, but two, like that doesn't, some of them barely even graduated high school. And these are the top entrepreneurs on the planet. I mean, they're geniuses in a different way. I mean,
right.
So I think it's a blessing. It's a blessing doing this so my kids can see this world even exists. Most people don't know it exists.
So have you seen entrepreneurial traits in them?
Oh, they're both 9 quick starts in Colby. So they're true vision. They are true vision, and they have low follow through. So if they don't hire 1 million people, nothing's ever good. Most of the people I talk to.
So Justin, we have a house. We have a family with 4 people. 3 of you are crazy entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'm a stabilized.
And then there's your wife.
Yeah.
How does she fit in? Pediatrician. And she's the only woman, mind you.
Incorrect. We have 2 female dogs. We have 2 female dogs. Right. So they're both stabilizers also. So that's why most people like me marry a stabilizing human. There are exceptions, but that's what happens. And there's 2 things that have happened. One, my wife takes chances in life now that she never would have, which is great. And then she taught me how to say thank you. And she taught me, hey, you got to remember to pick up the kids. And then the kids have her love, warmth, empathy rules, but they also have my go for it, go for it, go for it. So that's
the worlds.
It's 100%. And then again, like, I can't wait for my kids to rebel. 1, because all kids rebel, but 2.
Oh, I'm going to check back on you with that, Justin.
Oh, you can. you can follow through with me all you want on that, but I'm excited for it. Why? Because all the great entrepreneurs were rebels. And so I'm excited for that. So why
Well, they
wouldn't
say, no good girl ever changed the world.
Right. So, yeah. And I only talk to people changing the world. The purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary, abundance, investment mindset entrepreneur and share their stories with the world. Their world people bore me. I just don't understand that. I'm fully the world. And then my kids are thinking on a global level too, which is great.
Now, are your kids homeschooled?
So that's a great question. There's two reasons why. One,
wait, is that yes? Was that yes or no?
Well, I'll give you the answer. The reason why it's a good question is because a lot of the folks that are partners with my PR firm and then are members of the connectivity platform my partner and I built, they had been homeschooled and they homeschool their children. So that's a good question. Two, my kids are not. However, the school they go to, it's a public school, but it's not really a public school. It's super small. It's a great public
like a Montessori.
Yes, but it's not. It's a public school, but it's just a great neighborhood school that almost feels like that's a good description. It feels like a Montessori type private school for sure. And to your other point, like they're getting a much better education here. Through what my wife
watching it. Yeah, they're watching it.
Much way better education, a better education than 99.9% of the world gets, because they don't know this world exists, and they're getting the ups and downs from things as well.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because I think this is relevant to everything, and it's relevant to your work as well.
Yeah.
What I feel, and it doesn't matter what I feel, you're the guest, right? But what I feel has been lost, and it really saddens me. And you see my bio there, right? Like, I could wallpaper with the letters of my degrees, but it's all just part of the game. Yep. What I feel has been lost, though, in school and education, whatever you want to say, is critical thinking. I want to hear your thoughts on that, because entrepreneurs are critical thinkers. There's a problem, we solve it, or we find a problem that didn't exist. Apple, Steve Jobs, nobody knew. Who the hell knew what a cell phone was? Now we can't live without it. That is the byproduct of critical thinking. When I mentioned earlier about the indoctrination, that's what breaks my heart. Don't tell me what to think. Give me the facts, and I can think for myself.
Give me the answer. Just give me the answer. Right. So here's a couple things. I just want the answer. So here again, my brain, here's blah, 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 simplifies into patterns. That's all it does. So here's the formula for creating a successful global company. This is the entire formula. Is you see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. See a problem, that's the same formula.
Say it slow. See a problem.
See a problem, create solution, problem solve.
Solution.
Well, okay. I'll go really slow.
Right.
See a problem, create solution, problem solved, successful global company.
Okay. Now, just for the record, that's a normal speed.
Yeah, but yes, so that's okay. I'm talking to top entrepreneurs in the world. That's who I'm talking to.
They get it. Yeah.
They will get it. They've just, great. So I have zero business background. I got a full academics scholarship to college, Big Ten school. I have somewhat of a brain. I never took one business class. I still don't know what an S Corp is. I didn't know you had to pay taxes for it. I don't care about any of that stuff. So now I have 2 global companies that partner with top people on planet. Why? Because it's the same formula, and I won't make excuses. I'll just do it. So first company was a journalist for 20 years, created an entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years, saw a problem, created solution, problem solved, successful global company. Second company, annoyed by all these platforms that let everyone in. People at the highest level, they don't want to waste their time with that. So saw a problem, created a solution, problem solved, successful global company. The new book, the problem is many entrepreneurs torch their family or don't have a family for this life. That's a problem, create a solution. That's the book, problem solved. It's been number one on Amazon.
What are some of the solutions? I know you're dying to go there, so go.
Well, the solutions are you winning the right game or you winning the wrong game? Is the cream rising to the top? Do you care about material measurements or meaningful ones? The most miserable people I meet are the ones that lead with how much revenue they have their office space. They're the most miserable. And if I ask, how's your family? And they're like, oh, I never see them or I never had one. Those are the most miserable people I've ever met in my life. They have all this stuff and it's just stuff.
This might sound like a weird question, but do they know they're miserable or we just know they're miserable?
That's a fascinating question. I've never thought of it that way. You can just tell, you're trained for that. I
can tell, but sometimes I think they're clueless.
I've had these really interesting discussions with top entrepreneurs about this. And I go, do you think, because here's what they say to me, because they're like, a lot of these folks, they're like, oh, I just closed an 8-figure deal. And, because we have these breakout sessions in like Strategic Coach or Abundance 360 and groups like that, or like, oh, hey, I sold my company, or we just hit the Inc. 5000 list. And then they go to me and they're like, oh, I just took my sons on a 5-day baseball trip around the Midwest. And we went to all these cool parks, or I went fishing with my kids. And the usual response is, you're doing it right. I'm like, oh, that's okay. Thank you. And then so I ask them, one-on-one, never in a group session, but one-on-one, I go, do entrepreneurs really want meaningful measurements? Do they really want to spend time with their family? Do they want to have good? And most of the time, not always, and this does answer your question, most of the time they do say yes. They say they do want it. They just don't know how to do it because they've used their coping skills to create a company or companies, or they've just never used them for anything actually meaningful. So that's one. The other conversation I just had, which I think is really fascinating, I think you'll think it's really interesting, and I think your audience will find it really interesting, is that I was talking to this genius. He's a genius. He's a 153 IQ. So he's a genius. His name's Pete Kofod. And I'm like, why are entrepreneurs the only ones that understand what I'm talking about? And he's like, well, most people, they're sheep. They're sheep. And then entrepreneurs like us, we're sheep dogs. So we're, protecting the sheep from the wolves and, that kind of thing. And, they're scattering around, So when you have to go home, usually you marry a sheep to raise sheep. It's a weird, because it's not really who you are. Okay. So then I looked up like you, I have like an educational brain. I looked up, Science Daily did an article about the primary role of sheepdogs. There's only two roles. There's only two roles of sheepdogs that they have. And like, it's one sheepdog for every 100 sheep, which is very similar to an entrepreneur, by the way, one for every 100 sheep. In my case, it's one for every 1,000. So you want to guess, I'll quiz you on this. What are the only two roles of a sheepdog? There's only two.
To protect and to lead.
That's it. Keep them in line and move them forward. That's it. So that's a visionary. That is a job of an entrepreneur.
I saw my whole reputation go down the drain if I answered wrong.
Well, you don't have any. You're definitely higher on empathy than I am. And I'm 6 on self-assurance. So I don't know if you ever, do you know where you are in Strength Finders? And
but I have to tell you something. I'm going to push back again on you.
Good.
And you can Kobe me and Strength Finder me and all that kind of stuff. I think on a surface level, maybe you're low on the empathy, but I suspect that if I scratch the surface, I think that you are incredibly empathic. And I'm going to tell you why.
Go ahead.
And I'll use a Lee Brower comment.
Lovely Brower. He's in Strategic Coach, 9 Quick Start.
Yeah, I know. I've spoken at Lee's events. He's one of my best friends.
I'm in the
mastermind. Guy. Love him. So here's a Lee Brower statement.
I'll tell him said hi, by the way.
Please tell him I said hi.
I will.
The reason why I think you are more empathic than you want to see yourself as is evidenced by the way you value the people you love. You have built a life. You are not distracted by all that glitters is gold. You have built a life. Your mission is for global entrepreneurs to have a life, not just a company or a business. To me, I can't think of anything more empathic. Now, I know.
Right. Well, okay. So one, I greatly appreciate you saying that. Two, I have endless empathy for people, like endless. Because I just don't understand people that make excuses. But here's the other thing. This is my entire litmus test. This is it. Okay. This is the whole thing.
Writing it down.
All right. And I'll say it slow. See, I'm learning. I'm empathizing.
See?
Well, I have endless empathy for you. Okay. So if I meet someone,
you dummy.
It's hard for me to slow down because I'm an activator with a high quick start. But so if I meet someone like you, and I know I can provide value to them, and they can provide value to me, someone like Lee Brower, endless, lifelong relationship. Someone like Scott Danner, I'm talking to him later this week. Endless.
Tell him I said hello, please.
I will do that as well. I will do that. I told him earlier today I was going to be on your show. Okay.
He said, watch out for that one.
Right. So, yeah. So I forever relationship. If I talk to someone and I realize, and I'll know it right away. I'll know it because I talk to people like you. And then when they're not someone like you, I know it. Mm-hmm. And I realize I can't add value to them and they cannot add value to me. I will never talk to that person again unless they change their mindset. Because if they don't, they're just taking time away from me and my family. So that's it.
You're a little intolerant.
I'm 100% black and white. My wife is 100% gray.
Right.
I have absolutely no tolerance for someone that will not get back in a plane without a parachute after it got shot down. I have zero tolerance for that. Why? Because that is someone who's taking time away from me and my family, which is really what I care about most. So I'll dovetail that with the pattern that I've seen over and over. So I keep making bigger investments in smaller rooms like Strategic Coach and Abundance 360. And the people in those rooms, people like Lee Brower, are making bigger impact. So bigger checks, smaller room, bigger impact. Okay. It's the same formula, bigger checks, smaller room. That allows me to spend biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make the most impact. That is.
So you're discriminating with your most valuable commodity, your time.
Oh, that's an interesting use of discrimination, but like I look at it as like I just want to spend time with my family. But it's what I guess it is. I guess I have to.
It's not a bad word.
I know, that's interesting. I never thought about.
It's your time.
Well, yeah, people
that waste my time. Who you want to spend your time with, because when it's spent, it's gone. Look, you're giving me your hour. I appreciate that hour. You can make money. You can lose money. You can make it again, but you can't get this hour back.
Okay, here we go. Here are the 3 chapters. Avoid boring people and avoid boring people. All right, so that's one.
I say avoid stupid people. There you go.
Time vampires.
Time vampires. I use that when I speak. All the time, avoid the time power.
Here we go. This is a good one.
Mediocre people don't let
it. Okay, why is that? Here we go.
Wait, let me read it. We can create when you chase them.
Yeah. See you later. Bye. That's why when you're like, oh, all these other people, where if it doesn't, I can't.
So I just got to go back to time vampire because
good. They're the worst. They're the worst.
And when I speak about it, I say we all know who they are, and everybody feels it. They suck the time out of your life. It's the person that says what you said earlier. Can I take you to lunch? Oh, you want to pick my brain and suck my time?
And by the way, those people hate it when you say no because they're entitled and it's.
Well, they don't understand that you're on to them.
Oh yeah, and I know right away. I have some tips about how to spot a time vampire. You want me to read it?
Please, I'm learning. Go.
By the way, this is all my book is. It's just, and I might not be able to see it because it's not okay. All right, I'll go slow. See, I'm learning. If someone sounds too good to be true, they are almost certainly too good to be true.
Wait, you went out. Say it again.
Oh, okay. If someone sounds too good to be true, they are almost certainly too good to be true. Okay, that's one.
Genius.
Yeah, thank you. If they ask for endless advice or your contacts without making an investment, they are wasting your time.
They're users. Yep.
if you ask how a time vampire is doing, and 30 minutes later, the time vampire on the other end is finished with their sentence, they are a time vampire. Thank you for laughing at my dry sense of humor.
Wait, did you write that?
Yeah, this is my book. I'm reading from it, which I've never done before. And it's very hard to see because it's very dark in here. Oh, you know what?
Well, that's okay. Everybody's going to get the book because you're going to tell them where to get it. But sure. I'm not directing. I'm not getting.
I'm halfway through. You want me to get the other three? You want me to do it?
I'm sucking out every minute I have with you. Yes, please.
Okay. If after several meetings, they decide to concoct gimmicks to try and pay for your services, they are a time vampire. Those are the tricky ones.
Those are the ones that want to barter.
Oh, the barterers. Yeah. See you later. Okay, here. If they are more than 5 minutes late to a meeting and do not apologize, that's the one that
they should text ahead of time. I'm running
100%. Okay, this is a good one too. If someone asks, "What do you charge?" within the first 5 to 10 minutes of an initial conversation, instead of "What does an investment with you
look like
and your firm look like?" they are a time vampire. So there you go. Those are the 6 things. That's what I've seen.
I like it. I have to think when I get the book and read it thoroughly, I'm going to try to add one.
You'll do a deeper dive on the book than I did.
Oh, I will read every word. I read books, and when people say they want feedback, you can ask Ben Hardy. I give them the feedback. So I read
So I read your book. So when this is the opposite. I read Money Happiness book. I scanned it because I never read
that was an easy read.
It was an easy read and an easy scan for me. And the best part was I just left a review on Amazon.
Oh,
was
thank
the
you.
top 10. You're welcome. The top 10 things why women don't
get paid what they're worth.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then, I'm not going to say it on this. I don't want to. You let people have to get it. But then it's like, would a man really ask that?
Oh, well, you know my joke about men. We know so many men are overpaid, but nobody thinks they are. This is my book.
My wife does. My wife is my.
This is my book, Justin, that speaks to your work.
Oh, right. There you go.
But this is
that's 10 years, 10-year anniversary, right?
Yeah, and it took me 50 years to write. Like, people don't read this much, but this is how to create a family plan and how to create a business plan that complements and doesn't. I'll talk to you about it maybe in November. You're going to be at the annual event, right?
Which one?
Genius.
So that's the one I'm not in yet. I am in. So if I do something, I'm either all in or I don't do it.
So you're either in the 100K or you're not.
I would be in the 100K. So I'm in Strategic Coach 10X. I'll be joining Free Zone next year.
Okay.
That one's 50K a year. And then I'm in.
I think you're with Tony Rose then, right? You know,
Tony's, so he's a 7662 Colby.
Love Tony. I've coached him. I love him. Love him. He is a good man.
He's my Colby twin. He's my Colby because I'm an 8671.
Oh, that would have told me everything I needed to know before we started.
Well, yeah, you wrote back that I knew you more than you knew yourself, but if you do take that Colby, you said you were a high quick. I mean, the way you communicate, you're at least an 8 quick start.
Do you know Cameron Harold? Cameron told me I'm exactly him.
Say that again, please.
Cameron told me I'm exactly him because I've coached Cameron too.
I don't know his Colby, but he's got to be an 8. He's got to be an 8.
He's a quick start. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the people I talk to, they're like 8, 9, or 10 quick starts. So that's a true visionary. And they have 1, 2, 3, maybe a 4 follow through. So they're ADD diagnosed or undiagnosed. Again, not a disorder, sign of genius. And if they don't hire a million people, it would be complete chaos. And then and Tony's kind of like this, but I'm the very, 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 it's the unicorn score 8671, where I have high quick start, high follow through, and high fact finder, which is like,
that is unicorn. That is.
Well, yeah, I've never met another 8671. I don't think I will. I don't think I ever will. And then my wife is an 8742. So she's high fact finder 8, high follow through 7.
Oh, she's got to be high fact finder as a physician.
So that's a good point, but it's actually the entrepreneurs who happen to be physicians. Many of them are not, they're like a 4 fact finder or a 5. And then
well, because they're entrepreneurs, they're not practicing medicine.
Well, they still are though. But they have they started the practice.
Well, you know what I love about that? What you just said is, and I love this, which is why I don't like when people hide behind their scores. Sometimes I feel people do that when I'm coaching them. They're like, oh, well, I'm not, I said, you got to finish. I don't care that you've got to finish this project.
Well, if they can't do it, someone else has to.
Exactly.
Right.
The who not have. The who not have.
100%. Well, so I can keep up with the visionaries, and I am one too, and I have the follow through. It would be like if you combine. Go ahead. What
I love about humans, entrepreneurs, everything is that it's like our fingerprint in our DNA. There's no two alike.
Correct.
I love that. That's what I love about my work and about talking to people all day long. As you could have the same exact score as Tony. You're not Tony. And I love Tony. And I honestly, I had no idea how much I was going to love this interview. Like, I wanted to support you with your book. You reached out so quickly. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Activator. Oh, crap. I was wrong. He's a 7661, not a 7662.
See, it just goes to show even geniuses can be, or you.
Can I tell you something? Because you're going to laugh at this. So genius IQ is 140 and above. So that's 1% of the population. I am 139. So I'm one below genius. But that's good because like I talk to a lot of 150s, 160s, and they're geniuses, but they can't communicate. So I'm literally a bridge between them and humans. Like that's
much of my work with all these really smart people is, in a nutshell, it's emotional intelligence. But we go about, all roads lead to Rome. So we go about it through many different paths.
Have you done your IQ?
I don't share my scores because it doesn't matter. Yes, of course.
Okay, you're at least one. You're at least one.
I'm not low.
Yeah, so
I'm not low. I'll tell you the problem I have with kids knowing their IQ. The teachers then teach to whatever their level is, and IQ, it's not success. It's not what success is about. It's
100%.
It's about your EQ, but it goes back to full circle, the problem with education. Let me give you a number, right? I want the kid that's smart enough,
right,
that will it's like the Navy SEAL. I will die trying. I will never.
You will get back in a plane without a parachute. Right. I don't figure it out. So that's why.
Scott, we only have a couple of more minutes, and I would love a part 2 with you. By the way, I'm supposed to have part 2 with Scott also. I have to take him up.
I just listened to part 2 with Scott. That's literally what the interview was.
Oh, was it the part 2 one you listened to?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you about your own show.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, there's almost everyone I want to have a part 2 with, to tell you the truth. Oh, yeah, Scott is incredible. All right. So let me just ask you this question.
Okay.
What is the last book you reread and why?
I've never reread a book. However, the book I'm currently reading, Dopamine Nation. Fascinating.
Uh-huh.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the one song you cannot live without and why?
Yeah. Well, you said the word already is It's With or Without You by U2. So I love that song.
Oh, see what I mean? You are empathic.
Well, that has nothing to do with that. I sang that to my wife when we were, dating, and so it's a nice song. I just like the song. But
what was your wedding song? What was your wedding song?
Oh God. So that was May 4th, 2008. Wait.
May the 4th be with you.
Look at you. Thank you. Love of my life. You are the love of my life. It was in there. I got it.
I love it. Okay, so how can people learn more about you and how can they get your book, which everyone's going to read?
Thank you. The book is called Epic Life. Very grateful that Dr. Peter Diamandis wrote the foreword. It's all over the world.
He's a real genius, right?
Oh, I don't know his IQ, but it's probably over 180. So he doesn't really write forwards for anyone. So I'm very grateful he did that. And yeah, I mean, it was #1 in all of Amazon Kindle this week, which is I think it's a message that needs to be said. So I'm glad. So, and then my name's Justin Breen. So Justin Breen.
BrEpic Communications.
Oh yeah. See, I haven't done anything outbound in so long. I don't really like doing it.
All right. Well, Justin, thank you. Thank you. This was the word that's coming to mind is exhilarating. This was an exhilarating conversation, and I am going to have part 2 with you if you're game. Are you game?
I'll do it. Yeah, we could talk forever. Yeah.